Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Literature in Robes. It's Jared. I'm happy to see you all again. Thanks for checking in. This is going to be a wrap-up, basically, of the Expanse series that I've been reading. It is a total of 9 books. It was a very, very long journey. I had to break it up a little bit with some other reading. Just 9 books back to back to back is quite an endeavor. I haven't done anything like that since reading Wheel of Time, so it was a good challenge. We're going to finish up the second half, books 6, 7, 8, and 9 of The Expanse. I'm not going to do the short story review for this at all because, to be honest with you, I haven't read it yet. I plugged through a couple of the first short stories in that, but I'm looking for something completely new and expanding myself outside of The Expanse.
What?
But for right now, this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about kind of a brief overview of the last 4 books, my overall impressions of this 9-book series. It was really, really something that I enjoyed. I didn't come away from any of the books feeling like I was unsatisfied, but I'll talk about that later. Suffice to say, we'll just get started with the books 6, 7, 8, and 9. Oh, yeah. So, here we go.
Beautiful!
Babylon's Ashes, which is book 6. As we left off, book 5 was kind of an adventure where we were digging into the past of the crew from the Rocinante. Naomi, Alex, Jim Holden, and Amos. And they're fighting this character from Naomi's past. We'll just say that. Overall, this is a very fascinating villain because of some interesting family dynamics that we're introduced into with these books. So again, these books on the whole, each one of them aren't entirely about space. I mean, it does talk about space and the challenges that presents. But as humanity expands out into the universe, they find themselves trying to basically elbow their way into the collective conversation. There's still a little bit of conflict between Earth and planet-bound humans and the space-bound humans called the Belters. It just plays right into that space opera cycle where the rebels against an empire.
It's a trap!
But the empire and the rebellion in these books are always changing positions, and so you never know who to really root for. Because all the characters inevitably start working together. So this is kind of a culmination of the book Nemesis Games that was book 5. It's kind of it felt like in a way a duology. As you read these, you kind of feel like they're kind of in little chunks. The author definitely tries to propel the story forward and give it a sort of direction. But this one kind of concludes the Nemesis Games and Babylon's Ashes. Very satisfying. I think in the end I ended up giving this a 4.7 because it kind of predictably came to a close. Although the reading was intense, it's fast-paced like always. These books never really waste your time. They follow a certain formula where they establish either new characters or kind of where we're at and building up into the next conflict. But each story is kind of different. As in the first ones, they have political thrillers, sci-fi, detective noir type stories, really action-packed stuff, planetary scientific adventures, and this is just kind of plays right into that. So satisfying ending for this one. They do excellent character work, and I've done a lot of research about these guys since the last review. And James S.A. Corey, the writing duo, Ty Frank and Daniel Abraham, those guys kind of built this on a D&D type of idea, but for space. And Ty Frank is the guy who made the world, kind of created the whole idea of it. And Daniel Abraham was so fascinated by it that he asked him, hey, can we do like a story about this? How much story could we tell with your D&D world? And it's just like, well, there's a lot.
A lot. I mean, a lot.
This didn't have to be 9. It could have been 11, could have been possibly more, but they were offered up to an 11-book deal. I think, after the first few books were written, maybe 3, 5, 6, and then they were kind of asked, well, how far do you want to take it? And so they basically supported them and got them the 9-book deal, and wow, here we are. And then the short stories kind of came out as the books came out too, to fill in as for the readers. But again, I was falling behind on that. I still have the collection, Memories Legion, that I will read. But on the whole, yeah, somewhat predictable, but I can never complain. All of these books, whenever you come back to them, you're like, yep, here we are. It's going to move quickly. You're going to get to some pretty tight,
Like a tiger.
dynamic plot. You're going to get into some tension. Character development is always there, that they're aging throughout the years. It's starting to kind of tell the story down the road, and it comes to the satisfying end. Humanity can kind of take a breath and move on. So that brings us to the next one. You're crazy.
You're crazy.
Persepolis Rising. Persepolis Rising. Persepolis Rising. Persepolis Rising. Persepolis Rising. This is a great book. I really enjoyed this one. This one was up there with the Leviathan Wakes for me. I really, really enjoyed this one. You find out that it's been about 20, 30 years, and all the characters are getting a little bit older.
Senior citizens, although slow and dangerous behind the wheel, can still serve a purpose.
Their life is coming into some new types of decisions. You work your whole life, and in the end, you kind of look forward to retirement. However, things have been progressing throughout the galaxy. The 1,300 open new worlds that have come from the ring. Humanity has basically flexed and worked their way out into these expanded universes and are starting to colonize and settle in multitudes on multiple planets. The Belters have taken on a significant role in the universal stage that we're now on, and they pretty much are in charge of the entire space trade. And there you can kind of see how things have progressed. However, there's as we've always known, the proto-molecule is kind of blending in very utilitarian ways. A lot of spaceships and technology are kind of married to proto-molecule tech. That's a mouthful.
Hey, phrasing!
Proto-molecule technology. So there are these ancient leftover structures that the proto-molecule aliens have apparently left over, and the humans have co-opted them and started to build new things, and a new empire emerges. This book kind of brings us into it's kind of an espionage underground, the French Connection almost, but space. And this book is kind of a different look at the whole Expanse series.
We're thinking about mixing things up a little bit.
So all the characters are older. Some of the new characters or family members from the main characters are brought into this one. Some of the characters that we've known and loved for so long get taken from us as well. Whether it's, I won't spoil anything.
Nope.
But the authors mercifully and tactfully are starting to pull at our heartstrings as we get further down this timeline towards the end of the story. Had I read these books as they were coming out, I think those old memories would have been more significant. They would have hit me in a better way. I wouldn't have felt like what? Again, it's that penalty that you get when you read back-to-back books. The authors have a responsibility in creating these books each time to bring people back into where you were, and it was actually really good. Each of these books, I could have taken a long break between them all and come back and been instantly right back where I was, not missing a beat. But as you read this whole thing together, it kind of gets mashed together and it becomes a little bit wordy, but that's not by the fault of the authors. These things are trimmed down. There's no fat in them at all. Every chapter just busts you right into the next phase, the next important thing. So again, this one, 4.9 out of 5. I really enjoyed this one. The characters are great. The tension was just built up. We're getting somewhere here, and what we thought would be a nice cozy ending turns out to be something that is just uh-oh. And some of our main characters find themselves in a tight squeeze.
Oh no! No.
Book 8 is Tiamat's Wrath. This one, it also was really good. I think just the pacing, they're just ramping up towards something. The questions that we've been asking over the first 6-7 books, we're starting to get answers for that now. There's a few more questions that come up. We're starting to learn that there is something outside of what built the proto-molecule. It's a very mind-blowing idea, and it does kind of feel like it's an original sci-fi antagonist that you might find in something like from Star Trek, something just very, very gargantuan, something just so large that it's too hard for humans to understand. And here, yet humans are making problems for each other, trying to figure out what is out there that's making a threat to humanity. In this book, we are introduced more to the Laconians, a defected Mars military colony that has established a new homeworld on a place called Laconia. And Laconia is where the new empire basically is, the fleet is, where the shipyards are, everything. Laconia appears to be in control of the majority of space. They have control of the gate, so they have control of all travel and throughways between colonies.
Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
What makes it so intimidating is that the technology that is being used is the new proto-molecular technological advancements in military weaponry. It's like bringing a gun to a knife fight kind of thing. So the Laconians are the gun.
You shitting me?
However, in using this technology, we discover that there is an entity out there that doesn't like this.
I wonder why.
Humanity is its own worst enemy all the time. Humanity is always at odds with itself when other greater things could be requiring our attention. And either we're distracting ourselves or someone is distracting us to distract ourselves. And it just becomes very clear in a lot of these books. In The Expanse, it's really a book about just humanity being humanity. The crappy people that we can be sometimes to each other, especially when we fear or don't understand things.
You must not fear. Fear is the mind killer.
So it's very much a study in cultural and social psychology, all of these, with the added amount of pressure that comes with living in outer space. The simplest mistake could cost you your life. So this book sets up some things. There's a bunch of rebellion in places that you wouldn't expect it to be, and also exactly where you would. It's a struggle for humanity to try and free itself from trying to control one another all the time. Humanity is always trying to tell certain parts of itself how to do something better. Not everyone is going to agree with how it's going to do things.
Hard truths cut both ways, Sir Davos.
So Tiamat's Wrath is just kind of keeps grinding. This one was probably a 4.8, right behind Persepolis Rising. It kind of had that middle lull where it was kind of preparing us for the ending. Still had plenty of action, kept the characters we know and love close to the heart, but it's definitely, you can tell that these heroes aren't the ones that can just go in, bang them up, and survive every darn thing without having any consequences. They're having mental stress as well as bodily stress that occurs to them. However, they are becoming the heroes of humanity that are on the good side of the struggle. So it's really interesting to see how when they started as a little pocket rebellion of righteousness, and then now they're seen as these legendary heroes throughout all of space. And Tiamat's Wrath kind of ramps that up, and you really get behind the characters that are there, and you see some major changes in some of the other characters too. This is great. So on to the final book, which is Leviathan Falls. Satisfying ending. I'm kind of mixed about it. I mean, Leviathan Falls tells us about how this all ends. Exactly like it says there.
Guilty. Peace.
A lot of the questions that I had about what is going on, especially with the ring space and the disappearing ships, but there's a lot of questions that get answered in here, and it's satisfying. It's kind of a reach, but it's science fiction, so what the hell are you going to do? It's amazing the respect that you have for the characters that they've built. It's amazing how they have come so far to make the sacrifices that they do in the end of this book, and it almost kind of left me feeling a little bit empty, like slightly unsatisfied, but at the same time perked and like it's gonna be okay. I mean, as a reader, we're always going to kind of bring a certain amount of expectation into these books. I don't want to say too much about how it ends, just know that it ends well. I would say this book of the 3 ending had a lot of preparatory entries in the chapters, just kind of people consolidating with feelings, emotions, almost like the authors as well were kind of coming to terms with the fact that this is going to be the last book. It is one of the shortest books of all the Expanse, but that's still not saying much. There's still over like 500 pages each, but it was satisfying. I really felt like this journey of 9 books was worth it. I came away feeling almost like, do I want more? Probably not. I don't think there's more that could be told, but there is, obviously, with the Memories Legion, but those are just kind of fillers for the gaps that may have been left in all the 9 books. But I feel like I've accomplished something, and it wasn't easy, but it wasn't hard either. There's something about the way James S.A. Corey writes as authors that just, they do a really good job. They keep the story moving. It's very character focused. The environment seems to guide, at times it will create the conflicts. Other times it just adds to tension. Other times it just creates a roadmap, a world of wonder, a feeling that things are greater than just the people in the stories, but the characters in the stories are very close. And we lose some of our favorite people in these books as well. Not all of them.
You gonna cry? Huh?
I felt saddened by a couple of them. I was surprised. In the last 3 books is where we lose a majority of some of those characters we've had the whole way through. It was a journey. That's when you read that much, I suppose that's just what's going to happen to you, is you're going to feel like you've walked a few miles. So it's great. I'm glad I have it in my mind. Am I going to watch the show? I've tried to continue to watch the show a little bit. However, it just doesn't seem to quite match up to the books. I will watch a couple episodes here and there, and I'll probably meander down that path, although I'm not much of a TV watcher, more of a book reader. I just appreciate the detail that books provide us, much more than a TV show, because they're kind of handing it to you at that point, spoon feeding you what they think it should be, how it should look, and how the characters should be. So, wow.
It's finished.
In the end, I want to give Leviathan Falls like a 4.8. If I'm being generous, I felt like, again, it was a little bit nostalgic for being an ending. I was hoping for kind of a bigger, bangier ending, something larger and more grandiose, but I'll take what I got. I'm really pleased with it. I can't wait for James S.A. Corey as a writing team, what they're going to bring out next. I have pre-ordered The Mercy of the Gods, which is their next, I believe, trilogy, is what they're going to be writing. So, gosh, what a thrill ride. I want to say The Expanse on the whole is probably a 4.8 coming down to it. I mean, just look at all this stuff. It's just a massive amount of it's a massive amount of shit. So I love it. Thank you, James S.A. Corey. Now I'm gonna go build part of a house with all of these books and just go sleep in it for a while. So I just want you all to remember to enjoy yourself, have a great evening, and remember, keep reading.